let's try and unpack this, because just moments ago, the news broke, Spain and Portugal plunged into widespread, a major unexplained power outage. We're talking about today, Monday, April 28th, 2022.
Yes. What's immediately striking is the sheer scale and how fast it all seemed to happen. Reports were seen point to a near total blackout across the whole Iberian Peninsula.
Exactly, the whole peninsula. And while the main focus is Spain and Portugal, it's worth pointing out that even parts of France apparently saw some brief disruption. And obviously the world is watching. So for this deep dive, we're going straight to CNN's coverage, their ongoing reports, to really understand what we know.
Yeah, the goal today is to give you the clearest possible picture of what's actually happening. We'll look at the immediate consequences, the travel measures, the safety issues. Look at the efforts to get power back on, and we'll touch on what little information there is about the cause. Because, frankly, there isn't much.
Still very early days, right? But we can definitely piece together a crucial overview.
Definitely.
All right, let's get right into it. When did this actually happen? The reports seem to indicate the outage struck shortly after midday.
Yeah, so for people on the U.S. East Coast, that's, around 6:30 p.m.?
About that, yes. And it wasn't just like a flicker or a brownout. It sounds like a massive sudden loss of electricity, just blanketing Spain.
And you can imagine the ripple effect for immediate and pretty significant. Especially transport. This isn't just it crippled central infrastructure.
Let's start with the trains. All Spanish train services, we're talking long distance, the regional ones, even local commuter lines. Imagine the number of people stranded. They're saying 116 trains were just stuck out there. What kind of logistics?
Oh, it's monumental. You got potentially tens of thousands of people needing evacuation.
Right.
And the fact that they said 26 of those trains still hadn't been evacuated. That really tells you how complex it is coordinating something like that.
And the transport minister came out and said long distance services, they wouldn't resume at all today. That just throws travel plans.
And then there's the air travel situation. Sounds just
yeah, Madrid seems hard hit. We're hearing about widespread flight delays and cancellations. They even have to cut incoming flights by 20%, just limit arrivals.
What's interesting here, though, is the sort of geographical detail. The reports specify that airports in the Balearic Islands and the Canaries, exactly, major hubs, they weren't affected. Which, well, it might suggest that the initial failure point wasn't maybe a total system collapse across all of Spain's grid immediately. Perhaps something more localized would be.
That's a really good point. A key distinction. And Lisbon Airport, the description sounds pretty dire too. No running water, no air conditioning. Can you imagine? It just highlights how much we depend on constant power for, well, the most basic functions in modern life.
Airports need juice for everything. Baggage belts, irrigators, systems, everything.
And it wasn't just the transport. On the ground, with traffic lights.
Yeah, I saw one Madrid resident quoted as saying it was
the jungle. And police in both Spain and Portugal were urging people, basically, don't travel unless you absolutely have to. And drive really carefully if you do.
What are the immediate safety? Traffic lights go dark.
Accidents, right? Intersections become free-for-all.
Exactly. The risk of accidents shoots way up. It can become incredibly dangerous for drivers, pedestrians, cyclists,
And beyond the roads, there were some other pretty alarming safety measures. Firefighters in Madrid apparently responded to over 170 calls for people trapped in elevators.
170? That's terrifying. Being stuck in a dark box.
Confined, dark, thankfully, there was some reassuring news regarding the really critical situations. Spain's health ministry said hospitals,
which is vital. Obviously, they assured people that
Spain's nuclear agency reported they all fell down automatically.
Backup generators.
That's definitely
It shows the safety protocols for those critical places actually working. Multiple power backups for a reason. Confidence amidst the chaos.
Emergency services authorities in Spain tell people only call 911 for their equipment for extreme emergency.
And keep the roads clear.
And the mayor of Madrid actually requested the national government. That really paints a picture, doesn't it? Seriousness on the ground. What would the army even do in this situation?
Well, they could offer a lot, actually. Logistics, mainly. Helping manage transport, getting supplies out, security, crowd control. It basically frees up the local police and fire to handle the really critical calls.
Makes sense. So the mayor asked for them to suggest maybe local resources. The massive question is, the elephant in the room, what caused, what triggered this huge blackout? Right now, nobody really knows.
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, he came out and said, quote, no conclusive information.
Right, and that all theories are on the table. He urged people not to to avoid speculation.
Well, in the immediate aftermath of something this big, we need verified information from
Especially now with social media.
and that could cause unnecessary panic and actually hinder the real response effort. Investigators need time to gather facts, do their work properly.
Okay. Now, interestingly, the European Council President, Antonio Costa, who used to be Portugal's PM,
Right, knows the region well.
he said there were no indications of a cyberattack, which, you know, given everything happening in the world, is probably the first thing a lot of people thought of.
It is, and him saying that carries some weight. But it's worth noting, the current Portuguese Prime Minister also said, well, okay, cyber isn't the main suspect now, nothing is off the table.
So, keeping options open.
He also mentioned their intelligence services are looking into it, and that the initial feeling is the outage probably started somewhere in Spain, which points towards, you know, some kind of failure within that interconnected Iberian grid itself.
Right, and those early whispers about a fire in southwest France.
Quickly denied. Yeah, the French grid operator shut that down pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, bottom line, the actual cause, still completely straight now.
And that lack of a clear why in these first few hours, it just adds to the, you know, the unease and the urgency to figure it out so it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely.
Okay, on a slightly more positive note, it does sound like efforts to get the power back on started relatively quickly.
Yes, there are reports of restoration efforts underway. In Portugal, for instance, they reactivated the Castelo de Bode hydroelectric plant.
Using water power.
Right, and the Topada de Outeiro thermoelectric plant, that's one that burns fuel to make steam for turbines.
And power started coming back first to the areas right around those plants. Why those types first? Is there a reason?
Well, hydro and thermal plants like those often provide what's called baseload power. They generate a large, steady amount of electricity for the grid. Getting those big sources back online is sort of the first step for grid operators to start rebuilding the system's capacity. Then they can gradually re-energize other areas.
Okay, that makes sense. Start with the big generators. And in Spain, Red Eléctrica, that's their grid operator, they reported power coming back in several regions too. Catalonia, Aragon, Basque Country, Andalusia.
Quite a few areas listed, yeah. It sounds like a coordinated effort, trying to bring sections of the grid back online carefully.
And they even gave an estimate, right? Red Eléctrica suggested it might take, 6 to 10 hours from the start for full restoration?
Yeah, they put that timeline out there, which, at least gives people some kind of hope for a relatively contained event. Assuming, of course, no major setbacks happen during the restoration.
You can just imagine, though, the knock-on effects on just normal life. We heard that play at the Madrid Open tennis tournament had to be suspended.
Because the cameras and scoreboards lost power.
Exactly. It just shows how much we rely on electricity for, everything, even our fun and games.
It's such a stark reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
How deeply electricity is just woven into modern life.
Mm-hmm.
From, keeping score at tennis to running life support machines in hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
We just assume it'll always be there.
And we also saw reports, didn't we, about people in Madrid heading to grocery stores, starting to stock up on essentials.
Yeah, that's an understandable reaction. When something as fundamental as electricity just vanishes across the board unexpectedly, There's uncertainty. People naturally want to make sure they've got food, water, batteries, just in case it lasts longer than expected.
Creates a bit of anxiety, for sure. Okay, so let's just quickly recap where things stand as of, well, now. We've got this massive, still unexplained power outage hitting basically all of Spain and Portugal.
Right. Widespread chaos, especially for transportation trains, planes, roads.
Immediate safety concerns like people trapped in elevators, but thankfully it seems critical services like hospitals and nuclear plants had their backups working.
Crucially, yes. The cause remains unknown. Cyberattack isn't the leading theory right now, but nothing's ruled out.
And restoration efforts are underway, gradually bringing power back region by region with hopes of a full fix within maybe 6 to 10 hours from when it started.
That's a good summary. The key takeaways are really the unprecedented scale of this across the whole peninsula. The massive travel disruption, the immediate safety issues that arose, the resilience shown by those critical backups, and this big question mark over the cause alongside the slow process of getting the lights back on.
So as we wrap up this initial deep dive into what's clearly a developing story, the fundamental question is just hanging there, isn't it? What on earth triggered this?
Was it a technical fault? Some cascade failure within the grid itself? Could it have been some kind of, I don't know, unforeseen natural event impacting infrastructure?
Or maybe other factors we just don't know about yet.
Exactly. And this event, it really just slams home how vulnerable these complex, interconnected power grids can be. Figuring out the precise cause is absolutely critical, not just for Spain and Portugal, obviously, to stop it happening again.
But for everyone else too, right?
For every nation that relies on similar large-scale grids, it's a chance to look at their own systems and assess their own risks.
Absolutely. It certainly makes you think about your own reliance on electricity, doesn't it? And, what something like this could mean right here in your own community. We definitely encourage you to keep following the news updates on this.
Yeah. And it maybe prompts a moment of reflection, too, about these essential services we kind of just take for granted every single day. And, well, the importance of maybe thinking about preparedness, even in places that seem totally stable and modern.
That's a really powerful final thought. This outage in Spain and Portugal is quite the reminder of the fragility that can still exist, even beneath the surface of our highly technological world.